That's in the email. I think it's in the packet.
Yeah, well, you.
Yeah.
Once.
Easement doesn't already address that. Maybe it does. Or. I don't think it addresses insurance, but it definitely addresses the town. Yes.
Hey, Nick, did you guys go out and help Jefferson this morning on that one or no?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you?
I've never had anybody
Is
ask.
that down by 23? That's what I thought it looked like.
Wait a minute.
They said west of Middlebury. I thought,
Yeah.
Why is my map?
the head on it. Oh, that's what they were saying on the news. They thought it was head on.
It's down here and then somebody the metals
Didn't look good.
As far as.
below the Sylvia.
I couldn't
Everything you say is.
Address yourself accordingly.
Are you saying yes?
Being recorded.
Okay, thank you for warning us.
It's being recorded.
Yeah, you gotta behave yourself, Alex.
It's a game.
Behave yourself.
I will tell you, my next piece of
You're not on Zoom, you can't go live.
I just see the thought. We'll see.
Well, they share one every day. Well, they do too.
Really nice.
You're short too.
Yeah, I have this.
Put it in your pocket. So,
They're cranking away on Blueberry Creek. We're ready to go on the second.
Yeah, that's less than that.
Yeah.
well, that's right, you got her tonight, don't you, Doug?
Yes, it does. Why I called him Jeff when I walked in.
Okay, it is 7 p.m. and time to call this regular Bristol Town Council meeting to order. Today is Thursday, April 4th, and this is the first town council meeting for the month of April. We'll begin with pledge of allegiance. Greg, would you lead us tonight? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we will now take roll call. To my left, Dean Renfro. Here. Kathy Burke.
Here.
Greg Tolsky.
Here.
And Doug Smith is here. Jeff Beachy is absent this evening. Go to the back. Chief Nick Cant.
Good evening.
Town Manager Mike Yoder.
Present.
Clerk Treasurer Kathy Antonelli.
Present.
Town Attorney Alex Bowman.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review?
Yes.
Are there any additions, deletions, corrections?
No.
No, all right. With that, the agenda will stand as published. Next item is the approval of invoices. Has everyone had a chance to review the invoices?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the invoices?
I'll make a motion to approve the invoices.
I'll second that.
Motion by Greg, second by Kathy. Any discussion?
No.
All right, we will take a vote. Dean Renfro.
Yes.
Kathy Burke.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Doug DeSmith, a yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting, council meetings, and also the fire territory meetings?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll
from all the
second.
above.
Motion by Dean, second by Kathy. Any discussion?
No.
We'll take a vote. Dean,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Doug DeSmith, a yes. Motion carries. Next item is planning and economic development items.
Okay, tonight, is our first consideration of a tax incentive for CMI. It's a local company we have that's looking to expand and consolidate operations here in Bristol. So we have with us tonight David Demro from EDC, and also Sheila is here, CEO of CMI, or some conglomerate, anyway. And I think they'd all both appreciate to speak. We'll ask David to come up first. As a way of introduction, I did send you the score sheet, and you can see on the score sheet, they scored 53 points, which puts them at a 5-year phase-in level for both real estate and personal property. And we have then we'll go ahead and talk through what they're requesting. I'll show it on the screen as you describe it.
Well, what I was just gonna do is, they were founded in 1998, and they're based out of Jacksonville, Florida. They manufacture tubing products throughout the Midwest and Southeast. Consolidated Metals provides a wide variety of tubing in various shapes, sizes, and gauges, and heat treatment. They are currently located at 1151 Bloomingdale Drive here in town. And they have 3 employees currently at about $19.50 per hour. They're looking at making an investment of close to $9 million for new and improved process equipment and automation. They're planning to spend $2.25 million on the existing building improvements. In addition, they are going to be hiring an additional 47 employees. 47,000.
Hopefully someday.
Right, building.
Yeah, higher than county.
Yeah, who needs that?
Yeah.
47 employees on an average of $23.60. This will allow Consolidated to go domestically and centralize operations with specific products at the Bristol location. We respectfully request the council approve Consolidated to request for a tax phase-in in their expansion project. And I also would like to introduce Sylvia, who is the CEO, and if you have any questions for her.
Yes, I have a question. When do you plan on starting the expansion?
This summer.
This summer?
Mhm.
There's no June, July?
Probably either end of July or August.
Okay.
We've been working with Ancon, they're doing construction next door,
Mhm.
and their design builder, they were pretty intimately familiar with equipment like ours, and so they should be able to help us. And they said it'd be about a 3-month lead time from the time we get started.
Okay, and then after that started, when would you actually do the employee hiring after that?
So the new mill, we purchased 2 steel mills, 2 steel tubing mills. The first one's gonna come in January, and the second one will arrive in March. And we'll have to start ramping up employees as we go through the year, so we're actually looking at hiring a higher level executive for that business. Possibly this weekend, they're flying down to, I live in South Carolina, I'll explain a little bit. Mike, do they know anything about how we're structured?
No, why don't you talk a little bit about that, and then also some of the automation that you.
Sure. So it may make, our plans may make more sense in the context of our business as a whole. So the parent, what I would consider to be the parent business is called Consolidated Metals. And we have about 18 to 20 employees that are virtual. That business was a business that was started by my father 24 years ago, and my husband and I bought it about 4.5 years ago. We bought it with 7 employees, and then we've expanded. We have 3 facilities at the moment, 3 plant facilities. 2 are in Union City, and 1 is in Elkhart. About 60% of our customer base is in Elkhart. We've had Lippert Components has been our biggest, Lippert Components and Forest River have been our biggest customers for 10 to 15 years. And we do a lot of steel tubing folks. We do a lot of trailer business, and bus business, and second tier automotive. So Bloomingdale houses a secondary fab shop for us right now. And we would expand that building and put the 2 mills in there if we can receive the tax credits. We also have a 2 mill in Union City and a secondary fab shop there. So as we ramp up for the steel mills, we will hire new people. So right now we have, as we said, we're in the final phases of interviewing the executive who would help us run that facility. And then we'll just keep folding people in. We'll need production schedulers. We've hired a project manager so far. So there's some people that will be short-term employees, and then obviously we'll have some long-term employees.
Thank you.
We noticed a significant amount of automation in the plant here in Bristol. How do you quantify that? It seemed like how many men does it take, or how many employees does it take for steel output or some sort of product output? How do you quantify, describe that?
So we did have constructed a custom automated saw that can cut and punch in one operation, and it's fully operated. We have forklift driver rule. put a bundle at the front of the machine and it comes out banded at the other end of the machine. So you, for that particular piece of equipment, you just need one person to tend it every half an hour on either side. Then we also have a host of fully manual machines that require more people. So we have 2 bundle saws that each require 2 people. We have a lot of material handlers. And we would like to pursue additional automation, but we also would intend to have machines that are semi-automated. So for example, our tube mill will be a mix. The banding portion of it will be semi-automated, but we expect to have 6 to 7 people on each shift for the tube mill. So it's kind of a hybrid of manual and automated.
Any other questions?
How, RV recession proof are you?
Well, if COVID was any guide, pretty well. We are, Lippert is certainly one of our largest customers, but we don't compete against Lippert. So I think when my husband and I first bought this business, Lippert was 75% of our business. And it's now about 45%, and that's by design, not through attrition, but through growth of other customers. And we did that on purpose because we bought the business in the fall of 2019, and then COVID happened. So we were able to make it through that because we were able to reach out to new customers. And so we're in buses, we're in fencing, we're in agriculture, we're in grain bins, which is a different subset of agriculture, and we do some second tier automotive. So we're trying all the time looking to expand into new customer verticals. We have a big metal structures business, so carports, a lot of overhead doors and garage doors. So we've tried to diversify. And during COVID, one of the things we're very proud of is it was very difficult for us. We had no orders for 3 months, and we did not let a single person go, and we did not cut anyone's salary except our own.
I think Mike's came around because of 2008, when we had the big RV shutdown. This county really hurt, but
Yeah.
we've been trying to diversify different companies coming into town for that particular reason.
We'd be aligned in that interest.
There's several things I like about this. I know typically we like to look at 3-year abatements. A lot of things that, what I like about this is we're bringing a hometown company that's consolidating, we're expanding a hometown company. We have automation. It's a lot of investment in equipment and really good paying jobs too, just solid paying jobs. So this is true competition with that other town.
Right.
And
Well, anyway, we've had really good luck with the employee base here, and we are highly motivated to have long-term employees. So we try to expand our benefits every year. We're small, but we try to add a little bit each year. And, we're committed to our employees. I don't think there's anybody who works for us at any of the plants whose name I don't know, and most of their kids' names. We have our corporate office and our plants get together. In fact, this summer, our corporate event is in Versailles, Ohio, which is about 25 minutes from our plant in Union City. And we're all going to get together and go karting and have food trucks, and then we're all going to hit the Versailles wine.
it's almost
So a
as
little
fun
bit
as
of-
working for the town.
Yeah, but here you have, what, next summer?
Corn Dog Festival.
Yeah, well, my husband said I've been to the Iowa Fair many times.
Homecoming. You forget about the homecoming.
Yeah.
That's been running for
That's a big-
138 years.
Longer than I've even been around. Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Anyway, if there's not any more questions for them, I'll, Alex, it's now your turn.
Sure.
You're in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just go away. Yeah.
Yeah, I may have a question for you as we introduce the resolution. Council, what you have before you is resolution number 4-4-2024-4, which is a resolution of the town council declaring the preliminary designation of an economic revitalization area, which is the statutory qualification to enable the town council to, we'll call it award, a tax abatement to a particular area of property within the town. What this resolution contemplates, and again, this is a resolution, the substance of which is probably familiar to the council. There is an application that was filed on behalf of Consolidated Metals, Inc., requesting the tax abatement. The EDC has put together the scorecard. We've had two forms filed, the SB1 for Form SB1 for real property and a Form SB1 for personal property, which identifies improvements to the roughly 48,500 square foot facility that CMI operates on Bloomingdale Drive. There's an estimated $2.2 million dollar investment into the facility. And then there's an anticipated 8.8, almost 8.9 million investment in new manufacturing equipment, logistical distribution, and other information technology equipment within the economic revitalization area, which has been identified on Exhibit B of the resolution as just their parcel. So this is limited to the parcel that CMI operates. That's a little bit about the project itself. This resolution meets the statutory requirements and provides for the factual findings that the council needs to make in order to adopt the resolution. The next step from here would be for a public hearing to be had at the April 18th hearing, where a declaratory resolution would be considered if you were to confirm or adopt this resolution today. What's contemplated here is a 5-year tax abatement, both for real property and personal property, which is based upon the recommendation in the EDC scorecard. That's again, this is what's been drafted before you for the council's consideration. Happy to answer any questions about it. It's kind of a dense resolution. There's a lot of moving parts to it, but what it really boils down to is it's a 5-year tax abatement at about 20% a year until that expires.
Okay,
That's my piece on it.
all right.
I make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2024-4.
Forge in there. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Greg. Any further discussion?
There's only one point I'd make for the record. Mike, have we received an updated SB1 for the real estate at this point?
Yes, we did,
Great,
along with the application fee.
great.
I paid attention to that. Not the other piece of it.
Sylvia, that was going to be my question to you. The reason I asked is that initially the forms had been submitted, they hadn't identified the parcel owner, and the updated form does. So that's what the resolution reflects. The resolution reflects that was anticipated that it would be delivered today, and so I think it's in good order.
Okay. There's no further discussion. We'll take a vote. Dean Renfro,
Yeah.
Kathy Burke,
Yes,
Greg Tuholsky,
Yes.
and Doug DeSmith, a yes. Motion carries.
Very good. Good. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I think we're,
Next item of business is to award the water infrastructure bid subject to funding, and JPR is here in force to talk about your option and their recommendation.
So, just wanted to, before we ask you to take action, I just wanted to thank the council again and
the town of Bristol for having us aboard on this project. As you probably know better than I, it's a milestone for, in history for the town, so, we were glad to be a part of that. Jenny is here with me. She was responsible for the tower, so she will be the one to, get after if the logo doesn't look quite right in the sky, so, but I'm sure it will, so, anyway. So, so, and there isn't Alex and I already talked, and we decided that there weren't gonna be a corn dog up there, it's just gonna be Bristol.
There have been discussions.
Yeah,
You're kidding.
No naming rights?
Well, for 5 million,
5 million, you can put whatever you want up there.
They better put my name on it.
if you got 5 million, Kathy, we'll put your name on it.
so you have this,
Can you give me 5 million to not put my name on it?
Ah, I see.
you have the certified bid tab, in front of you, and I won't go through that with you, other than say that we had one, bidder that apparently, dropped the bid off and it went into the wrong mailbox here, so it wasn't open with the rest. So it was open later, didn't much matter because they were still not below there.
Right.
So, by the way, they were all very qualified, all the bidders were very qualified, so we would have been happy with all of them, except we liked the numbers, so with the low bidders, so. Just to kind of back up a step, you know, when we, completed the preliminary engineering report and received, approval from that, for that through the SRF program, the project at that time was estimated at 12,964,000. And the combined bids came in about 1.2 million under that, so you're good. Doesn't mean you can go spend that $1.2 million. So anyway, so we're recommending Niblock Excavating for the water main network improvements at $5,987,307. And for contract B, Phoenix Fabricators, $5,750,000. And I would need you to make that motion tonight, and then we would have to, we could either have you sign it tonight on behalf of Jeff, or we can leave the document for Jeff to sign and we can get it later. So we just need you to authorize the signature.
We can have Doug sign tonight and I can have Jeff sign a second copy for you.
That'll work.
So that's all I need, just a motion and.
All right. Is there a motion to award the water infrastructure bid subject to funding?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Motion by Greg, second by Dean. Any discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Tuholski,
Yes.
and Doug D. Smith is a yes.
Okay, great.
Motion carries.
So, one last little detail. So, the water main project will start as soon as very shortly after we close on funding. The tower, however, will take some time because it has to be fabricated. And,
They'll start on the foundation.
okay, so we'll be making some messes out there, so. It'll go pretty smooth though. We've got two great contractors, so. So, yeah, Doug, if you could just, this last page of your document,
Okay,
sign that with your title and the date and good to go.
it's just great to see we're moving forward.
Yes, okay.
Have him sign that one too, please.
No, I'll trade you my unsigned one for your signed one.
Doug, identify yourself as President Pro Tem.
Okay.
Kathy noted that on this.
Very good, appreciate it. Want to go home, have a beer?
All right.
That'd be nice. Just kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
You have to stay for the whole meeting.
You can keep
You have to stay for the whole meeting.
All right.
For that amount of money, you're staying for the whole meeting.
Well, how about if I go home and get the beer and come back?
Go to Buffalo Trace, have some whiskey.
Okay, moving on. Second item on my agenda is a TIP annual management report the board needs to hear, and I have Heidi joining us via Zoom. And she has something like 300 slides. 300 slides. Just tell me you want to move forward, Heidi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me this evening. I'm going to be Ann Wallace, Baker Tilly. I know a few of my colleagues are in the audience, talk later in the meeting. But I am here to talk about what is called the TIP management report. So the legislature put into place this past session that this report that has been filed for many years now has to be presented to you all as a council. And I know that several of you are on the redevelopment commission, so this should be pretty straightforward. But this TIP management report reports on prior year's information. So all of the activities in 2023 that the redevelopment commission had is what is reported in this report. So it's past information. So this slide just shows you all of the various reporting requirements that the redevelopment commissions in Indiana are responsible for. The one that's highlighted in coral is the one that I'm going to be talking about tonight. And then this also just needs to be provided to the redevelopment commission and noted in their minutes. And then Kathy will submit the report in Gateway if she hasn't already done that. So you want to go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this slide is just a quick kind of TIP 101 slide that whenever you create a TIP area, the parcels that make up the TIP area have a base value, which is shown here in the gray box. So the base value is the net assessed value of all of the parcels that are part of the TIP area. And that net assessed value continues to go to the overlapping taxing unit, tax bases. And as incremental AV is generated above that current net assessed value, that is incremental assessed value, that is the taxes are generated and then captured by the redevelopment commission as TIP revenues. Once the TIP areas end, then all of that AV does get released to the overlapping taxing unit tax bases. And as you know, AVs go up, tax rates come down because they're inverse of each other, and you have the same levies. So really, TIP is a tool that's utilized throughout all of Indiana and 49 of the 50 states. The purpose of TIP, just quickly, is to finance incentives or infrastructure that is needed to induce that private investment, as again, a lot of you are familiar with. It also encourages orderly growth, because when you create a TIP area, you have to have an economic development plan, which is a legal document that goes along with the creation of the TIP area that lays out what you are going to spend the TIP money that are generated on. And so it is very transparent process. The RDC has a couple of meetings, the council sees it, and also the planning commission. So it is definitely orderly and pretty transparent, the process. It also is often used to redevelop blighted area. To get into a little bit more information about your TIP area specifically, if you want to go to the next slide. So this reporting requirement has several pieces of information. It is all a template that is in the DLGF's Gateway portal and is uploaded. So that past slide just listed out who the members of the RDC were in 2023. And we have to list out if there were any changes of the RDC. So you'll see the note down there of people coming off and coming on to the RDC, and also a note about the RDC not having any employees. The next slide just lists out all of the 7 different TIP areas that you currently have outstanding. Several pieces of information, again, with each of the TIP areas, including the establishment date and also the expiration date. Go to the slide. The next section is related to finances. And so the first section here is the total revenues and total expenditures by TIP allocation area is required. And again, these are balances as of 12/31/23. This information you would see in your annual financial report by fund. And then we have to detail out the expenditures component by the State Board of Accounts category. So that's in the middle section there. You'll see the services and charges, debt service, capital outlays. So that is the detail there of all of the different expenditures. The RDC has never done any grant or loan to any individuals, and they also have not distributed any TIF to any of the overlapping taxing units like the schools or the libraries. The next section is on fund balances, so you'll see all of your funds that are related to TIF listed out there. We do have to include any bond-related funds for the bonds that you have outstanding, so you'll see those there and what their 12/31/23 balances are. The bottom section there lists out all debt related to or that's being paid for from TIF. So you'll see those there. How much principal and interest is left outstanding, how much principal and interest was paid in 2023, and when those bonds mature. There's a new section this year about housing TIF allocation areas. The RDC currently does not have any housing TIF allocation areas, but if they did, this information would be required. And then the last section is any notes about any kind of unique items that we like to add in notes about. So we have two there, one about your North State Road area that you have a deal with Wagner Development to provide them 60% of that TIF. That TIF area has not really generated very much TIF, so there's not very much going to them at this point. And then also just a note about the interlocal agreement the RDC has with the county for road projects that did get amended in 2021. So we just added some details there so that we can recall quickly. So that is all I have. I know it's very quick. Again, it's reporting on prior information the 31st. So I don't know if you have any questions for me or about TIF, but that is all I have.
Thank you, Heidi. Are there any questions?
No.
I think we're all set.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Everyone have a good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Next up, we have a CF1 report from Ember. And as I laid out on the agenda, there's easily substantially compliant. We just need a motion from you approving their CF1 as being substantially compliant. They're a little under on, as I mentioned, they're a little bit under on their equipment purchasing, although in the letter they indicated there's $1 million more of investment above the 1 million that I've listed. I just didn't ask about how you get $1 million of investment that's not assessed. So they claim they've made $2 million of equipment investments. So nonetheless, everything else is far above, especially the salaries. So we're in good shape there.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve personal property and real estate CF1's forms as substantially compliant?
I make a motion, we approve Ember CF1.
I'll second that.
Motion by Dean, second by Kathy. Any further discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Jaholski,
Yes.
and Doug D. Smith is a yes. Motion carries.
Can I ask one question on that? How far in are they on this, on their,
See, this is a 3-year, so they have
This the
one more
first year?
year. That's the second.
this is the second year? Okay.
One more year. Okay, next, later we'll be talking about a sewer and water rate ordinance amendment. So for this section, we have our additional folks from Baker Tilly here to walk us through the numbers on how we got these rate increases.
Okay.
So, everybody, I'm Ian. I haven't seen you all before, other than Kathy and Mike, who I've worked with a few times, getting capital assets in order. I am here for helping Jeff Rao. So taking over this project here. I'll let Gabe pass on everything in front of you.
Thank you.
So we'll start with water, and I'll reference this first. The reports are mostly the same, just different changes in figures and phasing. So as you're all well aware, we started the project with JPR and Commonwealth for the bonded projects, the $28 million project in total. That's with all your non-construction costs, and the $15 million project in water 12 million before non-construction costs and everything else flown in there. And that rate process was started in the first summary of keynotes here back in June of 2023 to kind of kick off a rate increase to start truing numbers up to getting to a point to where we can phase in those rates to the full cost of service amount where we initially started to recover our operating receipt or our operating disbursements and kind of fill in that debt service and start making those transfers to be in compliance with SRF requirements and fund the debt service. So getting into the report in front of you for water, the process started with performing a cost of service study with just some preliminary project costs. And really that cost of service study, I won't go through that, but it was really a process to proportionally allocate costs across the user bases or customer base to make sure everything is acting kind of in line and proportionate to who is using the most cost of the system for both water and sewer. So with this rate increase, the primary drivers are going to be your general inflationary increases. I know we've seen the environment kind of go haywire in the last couple of years, so it's really building in for a buffer for those. As we see inflation rise, we usually typically use a 3% increase to your operating costs, as well as another driver, and the biggest driver being the treatment system upgrades and expansion project for water as well as sewer. So after we've done all of our analysis and bringing into effect that we've already done one side of the rate increases, we have seen an increase, obviously. But our monthly average residential rate increases, as you can see in bullet 3, for a typical 4,000 gallon user that we like to use. In your phase 1, and this is going to be a 2-phase rate increase, you're going to see a $14.25 increase for those 4,000 gallon users. Your second phase is going to see a $7.12 increase for those 4,000 gallon average residential users. Those phases, when we had looked through everything and following the same rate process that has already been implemented with the initial phase, part of the cost of service would look to be effective on May 1st. So that way we're collecting by June or July to make sure we're collecting a half year's worth of that revenue and building up to the balance that we need to get to cover interest costs and principal payments for debt, along with inflationary increases. So at the bottom of this page, you can see here we have, and we're kind of jumping the gun here because we'll show some of the sewer rates, but it's going to look at your average monthly residential bill for both water and sewer and show you kind of that net change through the phases. So water, as you can see right now, a typical 4,000 gallon user is at $22.31, which in comparison to a lot of other communities and the state averages is pretty low. So they actually quite a bit lower than a lot of other communities and the state average as of 22, I will say. So it's only going up. So as you can see in 2024, when this first phase is going to be implemented, water will be increasing that $14.25 for your typical user to about $36 roughly. We have $43.25 when that second phase hits and gets to the true point of cost of service. And I'll leave off sewer for now until we get into that and look at this holistically. But on the next page, I don't know if we have the slides.
Actually, the sewer was in the front of the, so it's in the next, it's behind it. Yeah.
You want to go down to the water?
Yes.
Sweet works. Here we go.
There.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. So here is just it's a quick graphic of kind of where you would expect some of our typical bills based on your usage and meter size. So kind of a couple of key points here are your 2,000 gallon flow, or typically what we call our minimum users. So that'll be 0 to 2,000 gallons. Your current rates are at about $11.15, and we're proposing that $7.13 increase to get up to about $18. So that is a 64% change. And your 4,000 gallon user, as I mentioned, your typical user is about a $14 increase to $36 for this phase 1. And there's a couple other multifamily, commercial, industrial, and educational users for reference as well, in case anybody wants to see. And then we can scroll down to 2025. So this is a smaller impact, reason being that when the amortization schedule is structured to hit our requirements for SRF and flow through principal and interest, we're allowing for about 2 years of construction, which aligns with what JPR was saying for building in principal. So you're only going to be paying about $1,000 in principal each of your 6-month payments for the first 2 years to allow for that construction period to be completed. And then your principal will slowly scale up after that through the amortization schedule. But your interest cost is still going to be something that has to be met. So that's why that big increase is kind of upfront, because your interest cost still has to be met, hit the 125% debt service reserve coverage that SRF requires. So you'll be well within that compliance through those increases, and actually by making this effective on May 1st and collecting in July, you'll be able to start making those transfers into your BNY account and your debt service reserve to start funding this and make that payment by 1/1/25. So takes all that into effect. And getting back into 2025, you can see here, as I mentioned, a smaller increase. So your minimum users will go from that $18.28 to about $21 per month. Your 4,000 gallon users will go from your 36 to about $43 in total, and then so on and so forth for your multifamily, commercial, industrial, etc. So about a 19 to 20% increase for all those users to get to the final point of cost of service. And allocate that through. So, any question? Well, let me actually show a comparison graph here at the end here that we put together. So, as you can see here, as I mentioned, your rates are actually the lowest on this graphic, which is not always a bad thing, but not always a good thing in terms of running an operation and utility, and costs are always increasing. Our utilities are not resistant to inflationary increases, as we've seen. So. You can see here below the state average and that's as of 2022. So we've only seen rates go up. That's just the most recent state average study that we've done. But in 2024, you can see that you'll be kind of still towards the bottom of the pack as far as this graphic goes. And then 25, you're kind of getting more in line with that middle grouping based on cost of service and rates around the area. So definitely a good graphic to utilize and look at where kind of you stack up. You don't always want to be the lowest one on that kind of graphic, but that middle time or that middle part where you're sitting at in 2025 based on cost of service is really something that's going to be a good standpoint for moving forward for the utility and keeping all these projects and your replacements and improvements moving along. So. All right, let's go back to the scene. Sorry, I threw you for a loop. Just wanted to keep you on your toes. Do
you want to start here or?
Yeah, let's start with the first page. Not too much here that's different from water. So I'll move to sewer unless there's any specific questions to water that anybody has right now. Nothing?
No.
All right, perfect.
You should have asked.
So the sewer, like I said, it's really the same kind of build out of this first page. So this is replacing your rates from June 15, 2023, which was the initial part of phasing in rates. With sewer, we have been able to structure the phased rate increases into 3 phases to kind of help that impact on users and really build them up to getting to that point of the overall rate impact. So again, the primary drivers here are inflationary increases as we've seen, but the biggest piece of this is the overall $28 million project for improvements and expansion that's necessary. So that's really driving what this rate increase is coming from. So again, these proposed rates are going to be able to help you pay for your normal capital and build in some replacements or any other kind of capital improvements, whether you need to buy a new truck for the utility, things along those lines. As well as meet your debt service requirements. So as we can see here, and now the graphic is probably a little bit more useful as we have sewer put in here at the bottom of the page, your average monthly residential bill. So right now your total 4,000 gallon user bill on average is about $51.91. That'll be moving up about $38 to about $90 in total per month for water and sewer in 2024. And then in 2025, about midway through the year, that bill will go up about another $19 to $109 in total And then ultimately, when phase 3 of sewer hits, you'll be at about $115 bill or a $6 increase in total. If we scroll down here, similar to water, we just have some rate impacts. So a couple of key points here, again, with your minimum users, your 5/8 inch meter here, the first set. Currently, you're at about $14.80 for those minimum users, and it'll be bumping up to about 22, which is an $8 increase. And the structure of this is really that it's helping these minimum users through cost of service, and keeping that minimum bill down for kind of those fixed income users, and really structuring it in that point to assist them, as well as it's based on the cost of service, so proportionally allocating those costs to the correct user bases, whether that's industry, commercial, multifamily homes. And that was all done in our analysis about a year and a half that I think Jeff or Amber or somebody had come here and discussed at one point. So moving on to 25, the couple of key points there with 5/8 inch meter. Your minimum users are going up much less, about a $4 increase or 18% on a monthly bill. Your 4,000 gallon users about 22%, from your $53 at the 2024 updated rate to about 65 halfway through 25. So about anywhere between an 18 to 25% increase that we're working towards getting to that cost of service point ultimately in 26. So we scroll down to 26, the final phased rate increase, which is a much less rate increase because we've already hit most of our debt service requirements, but this is to get you up to that max annual debt service, and still maintain that 125% coverage that SRF will require. You'll see about a $2 increase to your minimum users from 2680 to 2880. And your 4,000 gallon users will go up about $6 or 9% to about 7180 ultimately. So. And then on the last page here, a similar graphic. Current rates, again, are for a typical 4,000 gallon users are very low in comparison with other surrounding communities. And I will note that we do work with a lot of communities on this list, so there are places that are going through rate increases now that might not be depicted on this list, but we've certainly seen quite a few rate increases in projects, kind of with all the aged infrastructure that Indiana is dealing with right now. I think I had read a graphic at one point about a D- or a D+, don't quote me on that, but on the aged infrastructure outlook for Indiana. So we're seeing something as far as projects, whether it's sewer, water, electric, pretty frequently, and always doing rate studies and kind of those improvements to catch up. So as you can see in 2024, you'll go from your current rates at $29.60 for a 4,000 gallon user to about $53.72, the middle of the pack here based on existing rates of other communities. In 25 jump up to about $65.78, and ultimately in 26 about $71.80. And again, I want to emphasize that this graphic it's a great piece, but a lot of these communities, again, are going to be doing rate increases in the next, 1, 2, 3 years as we're really looking at the inflationary environment and projects that are upcoming to operate our utilities. So it's important to keep that in mind as well, that might be trending towards the higher part, but a lot of communities in the long run will eventually beat up to that point, and you have these rates built in through 2026, essentially, to kind of meet those requirements for 26. So. Any questions? I know it's a lot to take in there, but.
No, it's good information. I actually went back 20 years. I kept all of my water bill stuff. And I did a spreadsheet, and I'm not paying any more for water and sewer than I was 20 years ago.
That's right.
I think I saw that at one of the rate increases, it was either water and sewer game, you can probably correct me on this, was either 97 or 99 before the 2023.
It was 99.
97.
Was it?
Well, it was, I
97?
think there was one
Sewer
more
was
increase in 99.
There was
Or
one in
something.
99.
It'd be
I
interesting to
was on the
see.
board.
Yeah, okay.
No, it was 99.
Be interesting to see how much inflation, the difference in that 20-year period. It
Yeah,
probably is right about where we're going to be with these new rates.
I can tell you in just a couple of years, I've been looking at these, operation and maintenance expenses have been going up quite a bit. Then you couple in the capital requirements that are needed to operate our utilities. I know when we do the asset management plans. I know you went through that last year, but if you look at what an engineering report says on what is actually aged infrastructure, and needing to be replaced, I mean, it's amazing what technically would need to be replaced, exclusive of just the projects that want to be done. So it's something that, yeah, it's kind of crazy to see with all the lining and everything that's underground, what's needing to be done, but to operate the utilities and have clean water and not have sewage overflows and have working systems, I mean, it costs money, but it also provides that service that keeps people wanting to come around, so.
I got a question. On the water, I understand, we're spending a whole ton of money, but we're actually increasing our water source, right?
Well,
Our water capabilities will be a whole lot higher for fire protection and everything else by all this new towers and everything else, right?
We'll be gaining volume and closing some loops.
But that's what I'm saying, it's gonna improve the water system.
That's correct.
Okay. On sewer, we're not gaining a thing on capacity. We're just upgrading
We're
everything,
not,
correct?
if we go much higher, it puts us in a different category for regulatory.
So we can go up to 999.
Where are we at on capacity of our plant now?
Well, our hydraulic loading is only probably for the year averaging around 420 out of 750. But our loadings are really what is driving this, because our loadings are coming in and we're higher on those, and it's also caused us to be in violation time to time over our monthly limits of phosphorus and ammonia. And so with these upgrades and all that, that will take care. It also, we're going from a 1.2 million gallon, which is hard to understand with all that. We're not changing our daily flows, but our peak flow will over double if we get a large influx, and they'll be able to handle that better. And it's also going to reduce our sludge.
So right now, we're over 50% of our plant though.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. And we have an aging infrastructure.
Right, that's what I'm saying, we're upgrading our infrastructure, I understand, but we're not gaining any capacity whatsoever, we're just getting modernized and getting infrastructure.
At this point, we're not, but we're also building to add on in the future.
That's my question,
Yeah.
because
So
then
if
how
all
many
in
millions is
design,
that gonna cost us?
in design, it would be adding one more SBR, and that would probably take us up to, almost a million gallons. 999,000 is I would go before we switch to a class 3. So, and we probably really don't want to do that.
So I don't know, can we say that the new plant would be more efficient? We'll certainly have less problems with the treat.
Yes.
Right, that part I understand, I wanted to know if we were gonna gain any capacity, and we're not.
But we're only about, well, if we didn't have a load issue, we're only about 50%. Think about all this growth we've had.
Right,
And,
and that's what I'm saying, if we'll have to watch what's coming
Right.
in.
but if most of the growth is like CMI, it's lots of investment, few people.
Yeah, you're not
You've heard
adding a
Ken
lot of
talk
sewer
about-
load there.
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
heard
and
Ken talk about the RV guys being a dry,
clean. Well, it's a dry,
yeah, whatever.
Basically,
Low water.
not a lot of process water users.
Right, not like the one plant we have in
Yeah.
town.
I know it was 10 to maybe 15 years ago that we were at 40% capacity then. So in that period of time, up 10%,
Well, we're way over 50 according to Tim's numbers, we're over 50% capacity. If we're at 400 and we got 700,
750. So
yeah,
we're-
so.
well, it's
we're-
like
we're well over
60%.
50%.
That's like 60%.
But if we get that kind of growth, we'll also be better prepared to finance that next expansion.
Yes.
So, setting aside some monies and also within the sewer rate is all new businesses will be buying into this infrastructure. There'll be a fee to buy it.
Now, as that goes up, will the cost to our people come down at all? You know, as we get more users, I
Right.
guess.
In my world, if we get the kind of growth I think we could get in the next 2 years, I think when we could revisit the rate ordinance, say.
I mean, I know it's like any other entity, we're never gonna lower the rates, but I just.
Well, but why
wishful
not?
thinking.
You know, why not? If we've got the numbers that show that we could lower the rates, and I think we should.
That's what I'm wondering with growth, if we got more people paying in, it'd
Let's do the unusual. Let's have government lower the tax. Lower the fee.
be like the meal tax, we'll get rid of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my philosophy. It's typically you don't see it done, but if we can justify it, it makes sense. We should.
Because our bond's gonna be what, 30-year?
It seems like it's 30, but it's a long time.
We have to
Say,
real, yeah,
I'm not gonna worry
You and
about
I will
it.
be retired.
Retired?
Retire.
Yeah, we'll be retired, all right.
you have to realize too that
We'll be overseeing Bill.
if the increases would have been made gradually
Yeah.
over the past years,
Yes. Can't fix
we
what we
wouldn't
didn't
be
do.
in this position.
It can't fix what we didn't
And,
do.
you know, there was a person.
Moving on.
35-year money.
35 years? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
30, 35, yeah.
Yeah, there's
4
something
years, who cares?
we can revisit too, obviously with doing, and Alex, you might be able to talk to this too, but doing that phase approach, what we can do and what we talked with Mike and Jill about doing, and just talked with Kathy, is we can look at your collections through this phasing, and if, let's say you're way over your collections or you're way under your collections through this phasing, we can really true that out through the cost of service and get this updated at a later date.
The phase in, that's the only way I could see you could even think about
Yeah.
this. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I live in town, if you hit me with the whole thing, I'd say, see ya.
Triple S.
that's the hope with this, is kind of allow.
If you saw the chart, you can't move anywhere else.
Well, I go to Middlebury and them. I'm not gonna
Middlebury
go to
was the
4 acre.
highest.
I'm not gonna go to 4 acre.
Look for it. Okay, anyways,
Middlebury's was the highest, but I do want to
water
find out,
sewer.
where is
Sewer.
Dunkirk, Indiana?
what's
That's a
that?
good question.
Where is Dunkirk, Indiana?
I saw that too. I wondered.
We were talking, it was World War II or something. over there.
Sure.
Isn't down by Richmond?
I
Okay.
think it's east, I'll have to talk.
I'm just saying that down by Richmond or something like that.
We have to
Don't it seem
yeah.
like it, but anyway.
Interesting, sorry.
Due south of Fort Wayne,
Any other questions for these guys?
South of Fort Wayne?
yeah, between Fort Wayne and Muncie, closer to Muncie,
Thank you, Alex.
happy to oblige.
Just
Well,
Google.
with your feet.
All right, all right.
Thank you. Great information.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
guys.
And
Thank you guys for making the trip.
Kathy-
Appreciate it.
Kathy, did you get one for Jack?
Not too far.
No.
We
All right.
Dave, do you have another copy?
Yeah, I have many more. Probably more.
need.
Two, please.
Okay, I don't think I have.
Surplus
Surplus
property.
property.
Right, so, we have a portable generator. It's a generator that's sitting on a trailer that's been in Tim's shop for a lot of years. It was inoperable. He fixed it. They tried it. It worked for a while, then it blew up. So we want to get rid of it. We'll be replacing it at some point. So I just need permission to sell it.
You're gonna sell
That old
one?
girl finally gave up.
Oh, you're gonna sell one that blew up?
For scrap.
Someone-
well,
somebody
scrap.
will buy it.
Well, I
Nice trailer
the
frame.
motor runs, the engine runs, but the generator runs.
Okay.
I make a motion, we give him permission to get rid of the generator.
Second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Greg. Any further discussion? Now we'll take a vote.
Go
Dean?
ahead.
Kathy?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And Doug is a yes. Motion carries.
Very good, thank you, and I am my agenda.
Okay. Kathy?
Thank you. You may recall or not, back in May, we had a guest, Lori Knopfsinger, President and CEO of Oaklawn. She came and talked to us about the new mental health crisis center. And the council moved to donate the opioid settlement funds to that facility. So I am looking for a motion to advance to second reading after reviewing this tonight. An additional appropriation of what we've received so far from 2022 and 2023 monies in the amount of $10,615.14.
Okay, is there a motion to advance ordinance number 5-2-24-10 to a second reading for $10,615.14?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Greg, second by Kathy. Any further discussion?
This will be something that we'll do annually. The monies that we receive will go down every year. We will be receiving funds up through 2038. So every first quarter, we'll do something similar so that we can advance those funds over to the facility.
All right,
So every time or every year, we give them more money every single year.
Yes, the total that we are to receive is approximately $40,000 in full, but that's over the many-year time frame.
okay,
So rather than wait and hold it and not do anything with it, we're going to give it to them in increments as we get it in, and that way they can make use of it.
So once we do this ordinance, we can't change it. All the money we receive from the opioid. thing
You
goes
got,
to
the
them.
council already approved to give it to the facility back in May.
Oh, okay, well, then I got no say.
But
PD,
what's that?
that was PD, pre-dean.
This action though is just for this 10,000. So
Right.
every year you have the option again.
okay. If no further discussion, we'll take a vote. Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Jaholski,
Yes.
Doug D. Smith is a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. That's all I have.
You might like to explain to Dean what the funds are coming in as.
No, I was here. I know. all
I-
about it.
I
I know
was gonna
exactly
say-
what it was.
Oh, okay.
Okay, next on the agenda, Alex.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have, three ordinances, for first reading. First item on the agenda is ordinance 4-16-2024-7, which is an ordinance of the town council, amending ordinance number 10-20-2022B, titled an ordinance of the town of Bristol authorizing the issuance of sewage works revenue bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of certain additions, extensions, and improvements to the municipal sewage works of the town and for other purposes. You may recall that ordinance 10-20-2022B authorized the issuance of sewage works revenue bonds in the amount of $12,400,000. Given the bids that have been received for the sewage works, this ordinance amends that to replace the 12.4 million with $31,092,000, which is the anticipated cost of the sewage works project. That is this ordinance in its entirety. I'll point your attention to Exhibit A as well, which further expands upon the description of the project and replaces that prior description that was in the older ordinance. So that is ordinance 4-16-2024-7 in a nutshell. I would ask the council motion to advance this ordinance for second reading.
Okay, is there a motion to advance to second reading? Ordinance number 4-16-24-7.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Motion by Dean. Second by Doug. Any further discussion?
No.
If not, we'll take a vote. Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Jaholski,
Yes.
and Doug DeSmith is a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. The second ordinance, the second piece of the triumvirate this evening is ordinance number 4-16-2024-8. which, like the prior ordinance, is an ordinance of the town of Bristol, Indiana, amending ordinance number 10/2022A, titled an ordinance of the town of Bristol authorizing the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of certain additions, extensions and improvements and for other purposes. So, the council may recall that ordinance 10/2022A authorized the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds in the amount of $13.7 million, based upon the bids that have been received for the waterworks project. This ordinance replaces that $13.7 million amount with the now current $17,280,000 amount. This ordinance also direct the council's attention to Exhibit A, which expands upon the definition of the waterworks project as it is proposed and to be funded. Happy to answer any questions about the text of the ordinance or the function, purpose, etc. But I would recommend to the council to advance this ordinance for second reading.
Okay,
I make a motion, we advance ordinance number 4-16-2024-8 to a second reading.
I'll second.
motion by Dean, second by Kathy. Any other discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Rick Tuholski,
Yes.
W. Smith is a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. The third piece to remember this evening is ordinance number 4-16-2024-9, which is an ordinance of the town of Bristol, Indiana, amending chapters 51 and 52 of the town of Bristol Code of Ordinances relating to increases and water and sewer utility rates. This ordinance, there's some flowery legal introductory language on page 1. The purpose of this ordinance is to replace what has been codified in the Bristol Town Code as the fees for usage of water and sewer. This is set forth in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 exhibits to the ordinance. These numbers here, the rates themselves, these have been recommended by Baker Tilly based upon their rate study. These build upon the rate ordinance that was adopted by the council last June, as Ian described. This is the next piece of the puzzle to advance the rates to a level that will satisfy the SRF and to provide for the resources and the reserves necessary to make SRS happen. Exhibit A, so I'll walk through these briefly, and Mike, feel free to kind of scroll through these as we go. Exhibit A pertains to the monthly metered rates. So these are based upon usage, and for water, Baker Tilly has recommended the implementation of a phase-in for these rates. So you'll see there that with usage for first 15,000 gallons to 105,000 to over 120,000, there are rates for both inside and outside of town, and the date that those rates would become effective. I'll note that there are currently no out-of-town users. However, given that I suppose there could be in the future, it's important to have this as a part of the rate ordinance. So it's there, it isn't being used, but it's there. Exhibit B identifies the minimum water charges, and again, this is based upon meter size, the permissible flow for that particular meter size, and then rates for beginning May 1st of 24 and then May 1 of 25. Exhibit C goes to the hydrant rentals, both municipal and private, again for rates beginning May 1, 24, and then again for May 25. Exhibit D is for sprinkler and public drinking fountains. This is council may recall that in October and November of 23, there was an addition to the rate ordinance to incorporate rates for a 10-inch line. I believe there may be one user that has a 10-inch line. It's gotta be the biggest drinking fountain. In town. But these are the rates that are posted here. Exhibit E addresses the sewage rate schedules. As Ian had indicated, these are based not only upon meter size and usage, but given the cost of the sewage project, these rates are implemented over 3 years. So water for 2, sewage for 3. Again, no outside users, but the rates for town beginning May of this year, May 25 and May 26 are displayed there. Again, this is based upon cost of usage. There's also in that exhibit the base costs and the minimum for any unmetered users. And I'm not aware, Kathy, how many unmetered users there may be in town.
41.
How many?
41.
41 unmetered users. So 41 unmetered users in the town. Thanks, Tim.
So they just have sewer, not water.
Right.
Exhibit F, the ordinance has always contemplated that there's an additional fee for certain pollutants that are entered into the system. This increases those rates and clarifies the amounts again over these next 3 years. Now, exhibits G and H are new to the town. G is the water system development charge. There was a conversation briefly earlier about the idea that new users, new connections to both the water work and sewage work systems would be required to pay a development charge. Ian may be able to speak more to the market of it, but my understanding of it is this is pretty market for municipalities that are making improvements to their sewage and water works. This is public buy-in to the systems. So this is not a rate that would be, it's a one-time charge. It's not assessed against current users. It is assessed against future users,
Right.
new connections. Exhibit G is for the water system, and then Exhibit H is for sewage connections. Again, both effective as of May 1, 24. That is the sewer and water rate ordinance in a nutshell. The procedure from here, this we will have public notice of a hearing for the April 16th meeting, where the public will have the opportunity to come and be heard on the rate charges. It's important, and I'll note that we have these set for 4/16, which is the Tuesday
Work session.
work session. Part of the reason that's important is one, to divvy up some of the workflow between the Tuesday and the Thursday meetings, but also from a timing component. It's pushing up on a deadline for everything to be in a row for SRF, and we don't want to chance that. Importantly as well, when it comes to water and sewer rates, statute provides that there is a 5-day remonstrance period. So once the council, assuming the council adopts the ordinance, the ratepayers have a 5-day period in which they can petition to object to the rate ordinance. And so even if we adopt it on the 16th, really isn't effective until the 21st, assuming there's no remonstrance. Happy to answer any questions. Ian maybe will speak more to the rates themselves. From a legal standpoint, I'm satisfied with the structure of the ordinance and the language it provides. My recommendation would be for the council to move to advance this ordinance for second reading.
I'll make that motion for ordinance 4/16/2024-9 for the first reading.
To advance to a second reading.
Yes, sir.
I'll second. All right, motion by Kathy, second by Greg. Any other discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. Dean Renfro?
Yes.
Kathy Burke?
Yes.
Greg Jaholsky?
Yes.
And Doug D. Smith is a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. That's all I have for you this evening.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is any new business. Doesn't look like there is any. So we will move to privilege of the floor, also known as public comment. Is there anyone in the room that would like to make public comment this evening? If so, go to the podium, state your name and address. If not, is there anyone on the Zoom call who would like to make public comment this
You know,
evening?
there was
There's nobody on the Zoom call.
only Heidi, she left.
Okay. Well, with that,
Call in
there's no privilege of the floor tonight.
Oh.
Town council discussion items. Dean, do you have anything this evening?
No.
Kathy?
No,
Greg?
Is there any way we could get it's not a pothole, but it's a house down from you where they cut out into the road? They cut out into the road and patched it, but there's like, it's still a pothole. It's been freshly patched and it's like, you hit it and it's still
It's settled out.
Is that where we fixed that, manhole? Not the NIPSCO cut?
I just didn't know if it, like, how soon it could be, because it's, people swerve to miss it and it's on like near a corner. It's,
I reported a pothole today to Eric, and he said it was fixed yesterday afternoon.
Well, there is another one by the Methodist church, right there by your mom's, or your
Right.
sister's place there, where that water leak was, where they had to fix a water main to site. We filled it that last year with dirt and gravel and it's settled. Now the road,
Talking today about.
road broke out. It's
There was a
about,
couple
in about that far, that gravel you would hit it.
Like the 806, 706.
Yeah, it's right there, just at the far edge of the east edge of that houses. Just before you get to that
I
parking
could
lot.
put Eric's phone number on Facebook, say pothole hotline.
there you go.
So you had his personal one there.
I got a couple ideas.
It's the app.
too, but
What's that?
it's the app.
It will be on there.
So I was gonna call him today and just tell him, say, hey, next time you get the hot box out,
You should call him anyways, because he's gonna call you, so lots of things.
Okay,
All right,
I'll give him a call tomorrow.
all right,
All right.
potholes it is
That's all
tomorrow.
I have.
All right. Next meetings, April 8th, next Monday, we've got an executive session at 4 PM discussing litigation matters. April 16th work session is a second reading, public hearing for the bond amendments and rate ordinance. And then April 18th is our regular town council meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Greg, second by Kathy, all in favor?
okay, I was just gonna make a motion, remind everybody that the executive session on April 8th is a closed meeting. It's not a public meeting.
Correct. Okay, it's gonna be dark.
That's okay.
Let's see, eclipse.
Well, not as dark as Indianapolis.
Oh, well, we gotta have the National Guard out and everything else for the eclipse.
So all
You adjourn.
all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
You did it.